Star Wars 7x7, episode 2424. Today we're doing another Spinner Sunday installment. We're going short story this time because it is a High Republic story and it is the conclusion of a two-part story. We'll tell you all about it here. Bunch it. Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod and this is Star Wars 7x7, your daily dose of Star Wars joy, and thank you so much for joining me for it. So, Star Wars Insider Magazine, always a good time, always a good read, but it's back to being better, and I say that because there was a time when they were not publishing short stories in Star Wars Insider Magazine, but they have made a return to that with issue 199. And now they've just released their 200th issue, and congratulations to everybody involved with Star Wars Insider because that is a remarkable milestone. And the second part of the two-part story that kicked off short storytelling coming back to Star Wars Insider was published in there. It's called Go Together. It's part 2 of Go Together by Charles Soule. It is an original High Republic story. And what we found out previously when Charles Soule talked about it in interviews was that the first part of the story would be sort of a chapter 0. In other words, it takes place just before the events of Light of the Jedi, his novel kicking off the High Republic storytelling. And the second part of the story would be sort of an epilogue to Light of the Jedi, if you will, taking place immediately after the events of the novel. Now, before we dig into the details, a little bit of a personal note, which also ties into just, the whole philosophy of this podcast in general. When I was a kid, I read mystery short story collections. So mystery writers who wrote mystery novels also wrote short stories for magazines and short story collections and so forth. And so I, have very fond memories of spending, summers with my grandmother and volunteering at a hospital that she volunteered at. I would go with her on the days that she volunteered, and whether it was the, little cafeteria or the gift shop or the information desk, there's only so much that a young kid could do, but I could at least sit there and answer a couple of questions. And while I was waiting for the shift to be over and to go back to my grandmother's apartment building and swim in her pool, I would read, and I would read often mystery short story collections. So I definitely have a special place in my heart for the short story format. And it is Star Wars storytelling that we're talking about here. So the podcast itself is about Star Wars storytelling and news related to Star Wars storytelling and the analysis, if you will, and the reflection on Star Wars storytelling. So yeah, that's a big reason why we're talking about short stories in this podcast. And the two main characters of Go Together, who are Joss and Pika Adren, they are contractors for all intents and purposes, but like general contractors, as in they are a couple who were instrumental in the construction of the Starlight Beacon. Not military, not Jedi, just, garden variety people who are working to build this thing. And they got sucked into the whole great disaster situation, and then in the course of Light of the Jedi, sucked into what is now being referred to as the Battle of Kur, which is the battle where the the High Republic forces are pitted against what they think is the entirety of the Nihil force, but is really only a third of the Nihil force. And the short story itself, Go Together Part 2, is focused primarily on a debriefing. So Joss and Pika are attending this debriefing because they managed to survive the events of the Battle of Kur, and a lot of Jedi didn't, and the gathered the gathered Republic Defense Forces, and even the Chancellor, Lena Soh, is there, and Avar Kriss is there. So everybody wants to know how they managed to survive when so many others didn't. I think we're safe in going into spoiler territory here, but there's your warning just in case you need it. So it turns out that they were piloting one of the long beams, which is one of the Republic ships, and they sliced the code in it because the engines were automatically linked together, and slicing the code allowed them to be able to have each engine on the thing under manual control, which meant that they had a lot more maneuverability. There's some, drama around that because apparently that could stress the long beam's frame if they didn't have the engines controlled like that. And, Joss and Pika are like, oh, so you're going to be mad at us about that? Like, we survived and we helped win the battle, like you're going to give us a problem over this? And no, they're not going to give Joss and Pika a problem over that. In fact, they're going to give them a job offer. After their debriefing, Admiral Kronora of the Republic Defense Forces shows up and says, yeah, you are coming up with innovative solutions and it's exciting, and we're putting together a task force because we don't think the Nile are really gone. We want to learn more about them and find out where their base is and take them out once and for all. And you guys have been coming up with great innovative stuff, whether it was the beacon or the Great Disaster or surviving in the Battle of Kur, and we would like your help. And they just wanted to go on vacation. Like, that was the whole thing that started. Like, they were done with Starlight Peak and they wanted to go on vacation. And they basically put their feet down and said, no, not until after our vacation, which is beautiful. I love it. And so Joss and Pika get to go on vacation, and then after their vacation is over, they're going to join this committee, this task force, this whatever, to help confront the Nile threat, which apparently they are ready to believe already that it has not been extinguished. And that itself leads into the next part of the big storytelling initiative on at least two levels, because first of all, we know that, and this has not been formally stated anywhere. I'm just using this language because it kind of helps me think about it anyway. But the first books and stories that came out, I guess, including Go Together, right? So Light of the Jedi, A Test of Courage, Into the Dark. These stories, Great Jedi Rescue by Kevin Scott, and that's just the kids' book, and then the High Republic comic by Kevin Scott, and the High Republic Adventures by Daniel Jose Older. All of these are sort of the first wave of phase one of the High Republic Storytelling Initiative, right? And there's going to be a second wave, and I would say the second wave fairly comes out with the Rising Storm by Kevin Scott and Race to Crash Point Tower that's Daniel Jose Older, and Out of the Shadows is by Justina Ireland, right? So that's the next wave, and that's coming later this year. And it seems like Joss and Pika Adren are going to have a role to play. And I do think that's really fun, and I think that's a really good thing, because we have, this whole High Republic initiative is about the Jedi. It's about seeing the Jedi at the height of their powers, but it's also about seeing the Republic at the height of its powers as well. And certainly when we see the Republic in the prequel trilogy, we're seeing the Jedi at their fall, the Republic at their fall, but we only really have it through their eyes. Maybe we have a little bit through Jango Fett and Attack of the Clones, right? But most of it is happening through the eyes of, that top level people in government or people involved with the Jedi Order. But we don't necessarily have a lot of outsider views. Say, like, for example, with Han Solo in the original trilogy and Chewbacca, right? So I feel like Joss and Pika Adren have the opportunity to give us, as readers, an outside perspective on everything happening. And I think that's a really welcome viewpoint to have in the High Republic storytelling. And so it's nice to know from this short story, from this two-part short story Go Together, that they will be continuing on in the High Republic storytelling. That's my take on it, at least. And I'd love to hear what you think. So comments over where you see posts for this episode at facebook.com/SW7x7, or if you prefer the video version, youtube.com/SW7x7. And that is going to do it for the show today. It just remains for me to say thank you so much for joining me for it, as always, and may the Force be with you wherever in the world you may be.
7x7 is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited, or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2021 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.